You've been in a relationship where you felt off balance before. Your feelings for him were strong, but the longer your relationship went, the more anxious you felt. Chances are you fell into one of these 4 traps. Stick around to learn what not to do the next time you find yourself falling for an emotionally unavailable guy. I'm Evan Mark Katz, dating coach for smart, strong, successful women and your personal trainer for love. Welcome to the Love You podcast. Stay to the end of this video to discover 4 signs that you're wasting time on the wrong men. When we're done, I'll let you know how you could apply to Love You to create a passionate relationship that makes you feel safe, heard, and understood. So we're going to roll through this relatively quick because these are simple concepts. There are 4 signs that you're falling for the wrong guy, and it almost pains me to have to say these things, but this has been my job for 17 years. I see this and people keep on falling into the same trap. So here we go. Number 1, he's not interested in you. Greg Barrett wrote a book called He's Just Not That Into You. It doesn't take that much to see that. We judge men for their efforts to see you, their efforts to procure dates quickly, their efforts to take down their profile and commit to you. Just because you have a crush on a guy, just because you flirt with a guy, just because a guy texts you, just because a guy sleeps with you, doesn't mean anything. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, but having a crush on someone does not mean you should stay fixated on someone. Right? Mentally, this is a concept in Love You. You don't commit to someone who hasn't committed to you. So if a guy's not interested in you, either blatantly not interested in you because he's this guy you know from work or through a friend of a friend, but he's never made any overtures, he's never asked you out, don't waste your time. Next, where I was leading, he's interested in sleeping with you, but he's not interested in dating you. That describes a whole swath of men. I was one of those men for a long period of time. My take as a conscientious guy was, hey, I want to fall in love. I want to get married. I want to start a family. I want to commit, but I don't want to have to be celibate until I do. That seems a little unfair. So I'm going to sort of make some compromises and try to be an ethical slut and not hurt anybody too much. And that was the way I went about business for a long time. I can't be alone, and I can almost promise you that not every guy is as conscientious as I was. I never did a booty call. I never had anybody fall in love with me. I wouldn't be with anybody for very long at all. I was generally single. So given the amount of times that, maybe not you, but someone you know has dove into bed with a man and waited for that man to commit, doesn't it stand to reason that that's not always the best course of action and that it often leads to attachment and heartbreak because men look for sex and find love and are easily able to separate the two? So if a man's interested in sleeping with you and he doesn't become your boyfriend in 5-6 weeks, out. Next, he's interested in dating you. Number 3, he's interested in dating you, but he doesn't treat you well. I can't tell you how many women I've worked with land a guy. He calls himself a boyfriend, and then once he becomes a boyfriend, he makes no effort. He's dismissive, he's rude, he's cold, he doesn't make the same efforts that he did to win you over. He was much more interested in catching you and in getting you than in putting in the requisite effort to be a good boyfriend who's supportive and sensitive and communicative. Right? So can't tell you how many women hold on to boyfriends that aren't particularly good boyfriends under the guise that, well, you know, we've got great chemistry, or it's hard to find a guy. There's not many guys in my area and I'm getting older and maybe I should lower my standards and maybe I'm being too picky and maybe I'm being too sensitive and blaming themselves. Man, right? If a guy is your boyfriend, but you're not happy, you've got a problem. Finally, number 4, he treats you well. He's a boyfriend, but he doesn't want to commit. Right. Anybody fall in that position before? Right. The guy who's been with you for 3 years and doesn't know when he's ready to get married. The guy who's been with you for a year has never mentioned the word marriage once because he doesn't want to get married. And you're afraid to say anything because you don't want him to dump you. So you just coast along in this low stakes relationship where he gets his needs met and you don't. So you can have a guy who's a great boyfriend. I use the example, my brother-in-law he had one girlfriend for 9 years. He's got his current one for 4.5, 5 years. And he's shown no interest in marriage. And if these women want to get married, they're with the wrong guy. But it doesn't mean he's a bad man. It doesn't mean he's a bad boyfriend. If you want to get married, you want real commitment, and this guy is making excuses and isn't leading the charge on commitment, there's a problem. So we've just identified 4 really common things. He's not interested in you. He's interested in sleeping with you, but not dating you. He's interested in dating you, but he doesn't treat you well. And he treats you well, but he doesn't want to get married. Right? When you have this, you don't try to change him. You don't wait him out. You don't engage in wishful thinking. You don't delude yourself into thinking that your chemistry or your deep love guarantees a happy future. You don't spend years wondering how things could go back to the way they were in those first couple months. You don't cling to random things that he said, like, I love you, or I see myself with you in the future, or I've never felt like this before, because they don't mean anything for the future. They meant something in that moment. All you know is that either he's a marriage-oriented man who's on track to consider you as his wife and vice versa, or he's not on the marriage track at all, and he's certainly not on the marriage track with you. And the answer to all of these situations that I've outlined in this podcast is get out. Right? You're not going to find another dating coach on the planet who's bigger on dumping men than I am. Your time is precious. Use it well. Don't waste it on these situations. Promise me, okay? I'm Evan Mark Katz. Thank you for tuning into the Love You Podcast. For more episodes like this on YouTube, click the subscribe button, ring the bell, and choose all to ensure you get notified whenever new content comes out. If you're listening to the audio podcast, please scroll down to leave an honest review on Apple. More reviews equals more awareness of the Love You Podcast and more love in the world. And if you're interested in being a part of Love You and transforming your love life, click on the link below to apply. Thank you so much. I will talk to you soon.